Flosstube. This is Doris, also known as Windy Bay Stitches, and I am back today for my third Flosstube video. I have a lot of fun stuff to share today. In my last video I mentioned that I was going to be taking a trip. I'm doing the Tour to Stitch in Northeast Ohio. This is the program for that, and I did it. Over the last 3 days I drove for, it was actually I think about 8 hours total, and I visited 8 different cross-stitch shops in Northeast Ohio. My first stop was in Columbus. Those first few pictures that I inserted are from there. That shop was actually my longest driving hop. I went from Akron straight down the highway to get there, and that was almost a 2-hour drive. And that shop is it's very nice. It's in a small shopping center, and it's kind of on the north side of Columbus. I decided not to go into actual downtown Columbus. I had talked about maybe going there and staying overnight, but I decided I wanted to kind of speed it up a little bit and only stay one night somewhere else. So I left early in the morning, got there shortly after it opened at 10, and made a quick visit, and then I hit the highway and I headed west towards Dayton to get to the next stop. The next stop, the shop is called the Tapestry Angel, and it was such a charming shop. It's in a small town called Piqua, and I also stopped in a town just south of there called Troy, which is also quite a small town. Troy is on the, I think it's the Miami River, and it has a really fantastic courthouse. Some of these small towns in both Ohio and Pennsylvania have the most beautiful courthouse buildings. It's really amazing. So I'm going to insert some photos of that. And then the shop itself, the Tapestry Angel, it's in a little white old house. It's really charming. It's not very noticeable from the street. Their sign is kind of faded, and but you go inside and it's just a beautiful little shop with small rooms that are just filled with fun stitching items, lots of great patterns. They had pretty good selection of newer things, but they also had some older stock patterns, and they even had some bins full of discounted patterns under the table, which was fun to look through to see what you could find. And they had the cutest shop cat. I don't have a picture of the cat, but it was very striking looking, and the cat's name is Meow, and the owner there was also very friendly, and I had a great time chatting with her. So after having lunch in Troy and shopping in Piqua, I also visited the historic library in Piqua, which is actually in an old building that was a hotel. So it was interesting. The owner mentioned that I think Troy and Piqua sort of compete as in terms of being nice small towns close together. And Troy is known for the courthouse, as I mentioned, and Piqua got the similar quality building, which is the was a hotel back in the day, and now it is their public library. So it was really nice visiting both of those towns. The next stop after that was back in the car, another fairly long drive north, another more than an hour I think, and that was to get to the town of Findlay. And I'd never heard of Findlay. Apparently Findlay is also known as Flag City. It's the location of Findlay University, and it's apparently a big oil producing region, and it's actually doing very well recently. The downtown is thriving. That's actually where I spent my overnight. I stayed at a hotel right downtown, and it was very pleasant to walk around there, and there were lots of good options for dinner and drinks. And that town is also on I think it's the Miami River, so had a good time there too. And the shop in Findlay is called the Craft Gallery, and that was one of the biggest shops on the tour. It has a lot of natural light and a lot of space, and they do quite a large framing operation there, in addition to having a great selection of projects. And they're a big fabric seller from what I could tell. You'll see in the photos, there's one where all the beautiful hand-dyed fabrics are draped over the display racks. So after spending the night in Findlay, I got up the next morning and it was time to hit the road again and head north to a town called Vermillion, which was the northernmost point on the trip. It is a beautiful little town that is right on Lake Erie, and the shop, Claire's Stitching Post, it's right on the main street in the little shopping district, and it's just, you walk down the street and you see the lake before you, and there's a lighthouse on the left side that's a small, I think it's a replica of a lighthouse. It's really a beautiful spot. There's also a beach there, and there's a jetty that you can walk out on, which I did, and I just sat out there for a while and enjoyed the breeze. And this was on, I guess, Wednesday, which was the last very hot summer-like day here. This last couple of weeks have been so hot and humid and sometimes rainy, both here in Ohio and back in Virginia, Northern Virginia as well. So while it's been nice to have kind of that summer-like weather, it's today it's actually much cooler and it feels so much more like fall. So I'm glad to have the weather changing, but it was sort of nice to see Vermillion on a summer-like day, because I think that's when that town probably really shines. And the shop there is called Claire's Stitching Post. It's a very sweet shop. It had a very nice selection inside. It's not a very big space, but it was just jammed full of great stuff. So I'll insert some photos from there. Okay, so after a nice visit in Vermillion, I had to tear myself away from the beautiful lake scenery and get back in the car. At this point, the long distance drives were done, and I had 2 more shops to hit that day. They're both kind of on the outskirts of Cleveland and Akron, so kind of back more in the metropolitan area, and not in charming small towns as much, but still both nice places to visit. Just Stitching is a shop in Strongsville, which is kind of to the west of Cleveland. And then only about 10 miles from there is the Crafty U and Framing 2, which is another very nice shop, very friendly inside, and next door to a delicious, very tempting bakery. So definitely would like to go back and try something there. So I did some shopping at both of those, and I will insert some pictures here. So after shopping at Crafty U, I had now been to 6 stores in 2 days. I made a lot of purchases. At each shop I had to remind myself that I still had multiple shops coming. So I occasionally did put some things back just so I didn't blow the budget too much. So this was kind of like my Christmas gift to myself, maybe birthday gift too. So later in the video I'll share some of my purchases. At this point, I was pretty close to my home in Akron, so I went home and got a good night's sleep. It was nice to, get back home, take a break. I'm actually filming from the Akron house today for the first time. So I had 2 more shops to visit. They're both easy drive from Akron. One is called Little Creek Needleworks, and that's just south of Akron in Canton, which is only about maybe a 30-minute drive or so. And the other shop is in a town called Wadsworth, which is just west of Akron, and that's a nice drive. And Wadsworth is actually a very nice, feels like a small town. It's got a nice downtown with flowers and library and shops and a craft brewery that we had been to before. So I knew that Wadsworth would be a nice outing. So I decided to finish out the tour yesterday, and I went to first to Wadsworth, and I visited the shop there called the Fabric Peddler, which is a combination of quilting and needlework, and they had really a very nice selection of needlework stuff, even though they're also quilting focused. And I chatted with the owner, Barb, for a fair amount of time. I think I was the only person in the shop, so that was nice to chat and get to know her a little bit since it's so close to Akron. And then I drove down to Little Creek Needleworks, and that's I had been to once before, and that's also a very nice shop. It's a little more focused on samplers. So they're a little more narrow in their selection, but very pleasant, very friendly, and they do sell fabric, but it's mostly in just neutral colors that you would typically use for sampler type pieces. So I'll insert my last set of photos here. Okay, so that is the quick virtual tour that I've tried to take you on for the 2018 Ohio Tour to Stitch. Again, this was the brochure, and I showed you the map before. That was the big loop that we did. I really enjoyed visiting all the shops. They were all, you know, slightly different, all very friendly, all had some great merchandise that was so fun to browse through and to pick from. Most of the shops had refreshments like cookies or Halloween candy, or so that was fun. And one of the shops, the one in Vermillion, Claire Stitching Post, had some little giveaway items for us, which was really sweet. Some little charms and a notebook and a little cutter tool. I didn't take time to mention the trunk shows, but pretty much every shop had at least one, and sometimes up to 3 different trunk shows. So you saw some of those in the photographs, but I didn't actually take the time to try to name those for you. But if you have any specific questions about any of the shops or what the trunk show was in the shop, they're mentioned in this book, and I can answer those if you want to leave me questions in the comments. So So I guess the next logical thing would be to talk about the haul, right? I did a fair amount of shopping. Of course, you know, wanted to support the industry and support each of the shops that took time to participate. So I've kind of put all my stuff together. The thing I actually bought the most of was Prairie Schooler charts. So it turns out that I guess Ohio shops, you know, have carried a lot of Prairie Schooler, and some of the shops that, not necessarily the ones that are closest to Akron, but the ones that were further away, had the most Prairie Schooler. And these are, you know, the older original charts, which are the heavy duty. So I ended up buying quite a few of these. I think I bought Prairie Schooler from at least 4 of the shops on the tour. So I'm going to quickly just flash the ones I picked up. I got Countrywise, Fall Fields, the STU from the alphabets, and Prairie Garden, Witching Hour, Country Seasons, and VWX. And in addition to those larger charts, I did find some of these smaller Halloween charts, and I'm not sure if I've actually seen these before. They're the same size as the Santa charts. So I've got a few of these. We've got Knock Knock and Double Double and Night Flight. So I'm really happy to have those. I like to stitch the Prairie Schooler, and I also really like to get these charts kind of as a collectible. So that was a good find. I did buy some newer charts from some of the shops. I picked up another one of these little JBW designs. I recently had finished off the owl, and now I've got the squirrel. And there's a designer who I think is local to Ohio. It's called Open Road Adobe Needleworks, based in Westerville, Ohio. And they have some larger patterns, but they also sell these really cute small patterns in the form of postcards. So I can't really show you the chart because it's just the pattern itself. They don't have a picture of the finished object other than the little image on the card. So I picked up 2 that are both the little truck themes. A lot of their patterns have the camper included, but I like this one just for the truck with the trees, and then the truck with the pumpkins is really cute. So these would be nice gift items also to send to stitching friends. And then these are some of the other newer patterns that I picked up. I got Thomas from Not Forgotten Farm. And I don't think I've seen Not Forgotten Farm patterns actually in stores before. I'm familiar with this designer, and I think I'm following their blog online. I picked up Priscilla's Pocket Stoneware Pillows too. I actually have a whole collection of salt glaze pottery from Williamsburg, Virginia, which I have displayed in our library here. So I had seen these a while back, and I had been wanting to stitch these up to go with my pottery. I also picked up Hands-On Design, Pumpkin Spice Farm, and one larger chart, Tonight is Halloween by Kathy Barrick. Yeah, I was definitely drawn to the Halloween patterns, and I did see some really great Halloween decorations along the way too. That's something that I really love about smaller towns in western Pennsylvania, and I'm seeing some around Ohio as well, so that's a great thing for this time of year. So in addition to those, one of the shops, the Crafty U, I wanted to mention that in addition to all the cross stitch, they also had a lot of wools for doing applique, and they had some nice applique patterns and finished projects there. And they, in the back, actually had brown bags that were grab bags, and I've seen these in other shops. Like there's a shop in Cape May that usually has grab bags, and grab bags are fun. They're sealed, so you don't know exactly what you're getting, but they're usually priced really low for what you get. And this one, the shop owner had actually labeled the bag with a theme, so I picked up a grab bag that was stitching themed items, and I was absolutely shocked how much was in it. There was a whole stack of patterns, all with stitching themes, so I'm just going to go through these quickly. There was Homespun Holiday. Oh, actually, you know what? I just realized I misspoke. These first few were not in the grab bag. These first few actually were in at another shop that had a discount bin. So let me pause. These are the ones that were in the grab bag. So we had a Hands-On Design, Count Stitches, Rabbit Garden Sewing Kit, the Acorn Scissors Ballet, and that one and this one as well, they're by Norma Flake Keepsake Stitches. The second one is called the All-in Clover Sewing Case. And there were a couple by Forever in My Heart, or at least one. This one is called I Love to Stitch. And we have Mary's Pin Pillow by Indigo Rose. And Forever in My Heart, Cross Stitch Maniac. And the Stitching Parlor Treasure Sewing Box. And another designer called Hand Blessings. There were two, Stitching Nut and Stitcher Poem Sampler. So these are all really very nice, beautiful patterns. I was so pleased to get such a great selection out of a bag. Usually when I pick up the mystery bag, it can be a little bit hit or miss, and usually I'll take, there'll be a few that I want to stitch, and then I'll usually bring the others to retreats to swap or gift to friends. And but that said, I really love all of them. The other ones that I started to show you, I remember now, these were from the shop in Piqua, the Tapestry Angel. They had a couple bins of older stock patterns under the table. Then they were asking only $1 each for these, so I grabbed several. Homespun Holiday. That's by Something in Common. A By the Bay Needle Art. This is Santa Tending the Sheep. And Simple Stitches, it's called Up on the Housetop. And then we have a Cinnamon Heart Needleworks called Pine Needles. And Lavender Wings, All Hallows Eve. And I actually found a Prairie Moon, and this one's called Angel Train. Alright, so that is most of what I bought. I did pick up a few more things. So that's the charts. There were a couple freebie charts at Craft Gallery. That one was a Lizzie Kate and one was a Sue Hillis Designs. It was from a previous Tour de Stitch 2015, but I guess I still had some extra copies. So those were out for us. I picked up 2 magazines. I had been holding off buying these since I knew I was doing the tour. So we have the Ornaments issue and then also the fall issue of this one. And I know you guys have seen those before. And then lastly, a couple of the shops. I did buy a few threads. One of the shops had a nice selection of the little needle minder mini sampler images, so I got 3 of those. And I bought a little notebook that has a sampler image on the cover. And a few threads, and then this was a nice from Little Creek Needleworks. They had some embossed thread keeps and also a ruler. Okay, and one more. This one, similar thread keep. This one was from Just Stitching, and it has an image with a bird, and also has a magnet plus markings for measuring. So these are all, you know, very nice gifty type items. As I said, this is kind of my splurge, like my all my gifts to myself for Christmas and birthday coming up. So, all right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tour with me. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. This is probably getting kind of long. I'm going to be here in Ohio for another day or two. I might film one more video to show you guys my Halloween tree and one other small finish that I had recently. Probably get that up in the next few days. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the recent comments and subscriptions. And I wish you all to enjoy this great fall weather, and happy stitching.